2 decades ago, WayForward released Sigma Star Saga for the Gameboy Advance. On the one hand, it was a standout title because it offered a very unique mix of genres, and even though it sounds unusual on paper, in practice it actually worked really well. But on the other hand, despite its charms and innovative gameplay, it never became all that well known, and remained at what some might call cult classic or hidden gem status. It also never enjoyed a re-release on any modern platforms, so it has remained in relative obscurity, aside from those like myself who got to experience the game back on the Game Boy Advance in its heyday. So let's take a look at what makes Sigma Star Saga such an interesting title. Perhaps most noteworthy of all is the game's mixture of genres. You start off immediately with a 2D scrolling space shooter gameplay segment, and this serves as both an introduction to the game's story, as well as a sample of that aspect of the gameplay. You fly around in an aircraft and are trying to defend Earth from an invading alien race known as the Krill. After the introduction sequence ends, you are then taken to the action RPG portion of the gameplay, where you control Ian Wrecker, the lone surviving fighter pilot of the prior excursion. Wrecker's commanding officer entrusts him with a secret mission to infiltrate the Krill forces and gain their trust. But once there, things don't exactly go according to plan. I'll leave the majority of the story for you to discover, but I will say that it is well written and quite interesting. The plot has twists and turns, and it carries suspense and drama. The characters have depth and charm too, and in general the narrative just keeps you engaged as you play. Compared to its peers at the time, the story felt compelling and gave an overall positive impression, especially for a handheld game. Once Wrecker joins forces with the Krill, he'll be sent on missions to other planets. This is where the action RPG elements come into play. You start with a simple handgun to use for self-defense as you explore a hostile alien environment. Later on, you will get more useful tools and abilities as well, such as a scanning tool that allows you to find hidden mechanisms that are normally invisible. As the story explains, the ships that you pilot are sentient beings that are connected to the Krill race. They will teleport pilots to them when they sense danger nearby. As you are exploring the planets in the action RPG mode, this is how you will enter random encounters, but instead of a battle against monsters like in a typical RPG, each encounter is a ship that is beaming Wrecker to it for help, and he assumes the role of its pilot. In other words, the 2D space shooter sequences serve as the equivalent of this game's random battle encounters. In these sequences, the main objective is to defeat the indicated number of adversaries. As you do, you will collect little blue pods that give experience points. Collect enough of these and you will level up and become stronger. The ship that you pilot in each encounter may change to a variety of different types, and each have their own pros and cons, such as faster or slower mobility, wider bullet spreads, a larger or smaller hitbox, and even alternate types of weaponry. Some random encounters are of a different variety too, where you will face off against a mini-boss in a one-on-one showdown. These are more difficult enemies to defeat, but since you will get quite a bit of practice facing off against them, you'll start to understand their patterns of attack as well, and be able to handle them better as the game progresses. As you explore in the action RPG sequences, you will also find various power-ups for your ship, including new gun data, which gives your ship different types of shots that are more powerful, have a wider hit area, or allow you to fire in different directions. At first, your options feel limited, but as you explore more thoroughly and unlock more of these upgrades, you will be better able to find a playstyle that suits your preferences. Since Sigma Star Saga never got a port to modern consoles or PC, or a re-release of any kind, picking up a copy of the original game online can be pretty expensive, somewhere in the $50 to $100 range at the time of recording this video. And that's assuming you still have a 2 decades old Game Boy Advance to play it on. Its price may be a little out of reach, and the hardware too dated for most modern audiences. But thankfully, there is good news for those who are interested in trying this game out. The developers, WayForward, have recently announced that they are re-releasing the game in a modern format and calling it Sigma Star Saga DX. Not only will this make the game available for modern consoles and PCs, but it updates the presentation, and they really listened to fan feedback over the decades regarding this game in particular. The upcoming DX version release is going to be the best way to play Sigma Star Saga, and not just because it'll be available on modern devices. Pretty much every pain point or frustrating aspect of the game is going to be updated to make the experience more enjoyable overall. WayForward is adding a lot of quality of life improvements compared to the original 2005 release on the Gameboy Advance. For example, in the original game, you could switch between two different firing modes for your ship. One had a speedier auto-fire feature, but with generally weaker or less impressive shots, and the other was your main ship loadout, customized to your liking, but it was effectively manual fire only. So you had to keep pressing the button over and over repeatedly for every shot, and it became tiring and caused strain for your hands. In the DX version of the game, they are improving how the auto-fire feature works, and making it so the rate of fire will be increased for all weapon loadouts when auto-firing. In their own words, it'll save your thumb from destruction. Other often cited frustration points with the game, such as its too frequent encounter rates, long stretches of gameplay between save points, and even bugs that couldn't be fixed back in those days, since there was no such thing as patching a game with online updates back then, are all issues that are being addressed and fixed in the deluxe release. So even if you are already a fan of the original, there are quite a few very welcome additions that would make picking up Sigma Star Saga DX worth your while. And for new players, it's going to be the best and easiest way to experience the game. The DX release of Sigma Star Saga is scheduled to arrive sometime later this year in 2025. So it shouldn't be too long of a wait from the time of recording this video before we'll be able to play the new and improved version. If you found this video helpful, be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and leave a comment letting me know what other games you might like to see. Thanks for watching.